Today we will be opening this 2020 Toyota Corolla hatchback headlight. In front of me are the tools that I will be using today. We have this bit set that I bought at Harbor Freight, a regular Phillips head screwdriver, some pry bars, a box cutter, nothing fancy, just a knife, and a little container to keep all your screws together. So first thing you gotta do, let's get all this out the way. First thing you gotta do, flip it over on the back. There's this little compartment right here. You just twist that to open it. Inside you will see a little plug right there. What that plug does is it connects the J headlights to the back housing of the headlight. So the J's are attached to the front clear lens, where the rest of it is attached to the back black part. So all you gotta do, look inside of there, there's a little wire to pinch. You pinch that wire. Okay, so here's a better look at the clip. You can see it's kind of tucked in there, but down right there where I'm pointing, that's where you have to compress it. And once you get that pushed in, you can then pull it out. I think I just did it, but nope. It's kind of tricky, so I'm pushing on it with the side of my finger and then grabbing it with my thumb like that. So I'm pushing on it like that and pull it out. You pinch the wire, there it is. It might be easier. There you go. So there's just a little pin, not a pin, a little clip right there. I'll point at it. You push down on that right there and that'll release it, and then you just pull it out. So now that's the big part done. So now all you gotta do is go around, undo all the screws. There is one that is different right here. That's what this little bit is for. It is a T20 Torx bit, but it does have the little circle in the center of it. So it's kind of a security bit, but that's why you have this right here. This has every bit you'll ever need. So let's get going on that now. Okay, so now you got all 10 of the screws on the lens off. What we're gonna have to do is now the scary part, which is prying the headlight apart and cutting the glue that holds it together. It's really not that bad, it's just a little intimidating. You just have to be mindful of the tabs right here, which hold the headlight together. This is where those screws went. And there's also these little clip style tabs that you can easily pop on and off. So I've found the easiest way to do this is to start on this end and work your way towards the outside. This end over here, this end, tends to be the trickiest because there's not much room. You can see those big clips right there that all block the way from where that seal is. So what I like to do first, let's spin this around, is there's a clip right here and there's one on the end. If you pull that back, you get your other hand, you pull this one back, right away you can see that it starts to pop open right there in that corner. I'll shove the little pry tool in there and just wiggle a little bit and it gets it right open. So, it just clicked. Let's do it like this. There you go. Get that right back in there. Now, I don't want to have to hold this the entire time while I'm working on it, so I'm going to take one of the screws, twist this gap open a little bit, shove a screw in there. So now this clip isn't going to close on me while I'm working on it. Be careful not to lose these. You can use something else instead of a screw. If you're confident enough, you can squeeze a bit in there, but they're a little too big. But with that done and out of the way, we're going to move down here a little bit, try and get this one open, because this is going to be the next one that we're going to go on. So, you see, I was able just to pull that back with my fingers. I got the little pry tool in there. We're going to twist it a little bit, get that screw in there. There you go. So we're going to flip it over and go do the same thing on the other side. There's this tab right here. I'm gonna pull that back. There you go. Oh, that's what it sounds like when it clicks together, so don't be scared about that. Pull it apart. There's a little bit of a gap right here, so I'm gonna try and squeeze in there. No, maybe not. Let's go a little further down. There we go. So kind of loosen it up, see how you can always see that gap. Now I can get in there. Slide that down. Oh, came clipped. Let's do this. Get this under that edge. There you go. Nope, maybe not. All right. Oh. We got the first couple clips undone. We got a nice little gap right here. So I'm gonna take the pry tool, shove it in there. I'm gonna twist it, because you can see when I twist it, it's gonna get really wide. So twist it, and that's gonna start a nice gap right there. You can start to see the glue coming through right there. That it's black, so it's kind of tricky to see. But once you start seeing that, you're gonna take your knife, put it in the crack in between the lens and the housing, and you're gonna start cutting the glue. Later on, once we start to get it really far apart, you'll see that there's a channel on like this on the black housing, and then there's the lens itself that goes into it like that. So right now we're just cutting this part against the lens. Once we get it open all the way, you can cut in between, and that's what's really gonna pull it apart. But you gotta start small to get going first. So let's get working on that. So I was able to get it going a little bit. Now I can see that there's that gap between the lens and the black housing. So I'm going to cut in between, and that's going to start to release the headlight. So now you can see in between the crack. You start getting in between the crack, and you just got to keep working your way all the way around. But as you do it, this headlight's going to get looser and looser, and it's going to start to get easier and easier on you. So I'm going to move this down here. Pop that open like that. Oh. Pop that open. We lost the screw that we put in there, but that's okay. You gotta remember, don't want to lose those. We're gonna twist it again to get this down in there. You can use a little bit of force. They're not super weak, they're not super brittle, but you do want to proceed with a little bit of caution. They are expensive at the end of the day. So, shove it in there. You don't want to use a metal screwdriver when you're doing this, because the metal will chew up the plastic and it's not going to look good in the end. But you'll never see it on the car, but you still don't want to mess up the headlight. So, get this back open again. Oops. There we go. So now that's in there, that's blocking our way. We're going to push on this a little bit, see how kind of get a little bit of leverage. Get in there and start looking at the glue. So there we go. Just got a nice big chunk of it cut off. Now, this would be a good time to go in here with a second one. Shove it in there so you can let go of this one and get working on this one. But, so where you can see right there, you can see the glue. Just take the knife, start cutting it. You can see it kind of pull away. And you're just going to work your way around. There you go. So now we're going to shove this part in there. And then take this one out. We're just going to keep working around. So when you get in a tricky spot like this where there's really not much room, in this crease, you can skip ahead and get past it so that later on you can pull this apart and it's going to be a little easier for you. But for now, I'm going to skip this little corner section and try and get past it. I already got this part right here cut off, but we're going to get that in there. And see now that it's a lot easier to pry it in there, when I shove this in there, probably can't see because my hand's in the way. Josie's going apeshit. Over what? Who knows? And you don't really have to worry about wires too much. There's not much for wires that you can cut when you're doing this part. But still, don't be shoving it in there as far as you need to, because you really only need to cut the first, like, what is that? Maybe half an inch. But we'll try and show you guys a little better as I do this. So you can see this is the channel right there, the gap's open, but this section right here is where I need to cut right now. So we're gonna cut that, try and go back this way. Can't really get to it because that stud is in the way from where the screw goes. So we're just gonna skip it for now and try and get over into this section right here. So what I'm doing is I'm shoving down in there and I'm prying it out, getting underneath that. But we do have this clip right here, so let's pop that off before we get to it. Oh no. So this is one of those moments where thinking ahead is good, because if I'm to pry here, I'm just going to keep prying and prying and prying, and it's going to put a ton of pressure on this clip right here, and that's what'll crack it, is when you're prying over here, that pressure is going to pop that. Or when you then realize it's already too late and you go to pop that off, sometimes they'll break. But just be mindful, try and pop them as far ahead as you can. If they don't want to go quite yet, don't worry about it. Oh, that was this one. But get that in there. There you go, starting to get it up. Sometimes it's easier if you just twist this back one. And see, when I twist it, it opens that wide up. And you can get right in there, you cut the glue. And see, it just opens right up. Boom. Just like that. Now, so this part right here, this is actually the control board of the LED part of the headlight. So that's the one part where you got to be a little careful, is at the bottom. So we're gonna keep on going as far as we can. It's closed again. This is the tricky side, because see, you got the tab there, the tab there. This whole section right here is covered off, so you can't really get in there. But we've got about as much as we can, because we've stopped right up until there. So at this point, you've got as far as you can go up to here. You've got pretty much most of the way up to here. So really just this little corner right here is what's holding on. So what I'll do, this last tab, we'll pop that tab up. Get under there like that. Oops, I just clicked that one in. There you go. Pop that one up. And now I'll try and separate it a little bit. And because there's not much glue holding it together anymore, you can pull it apart just a little bit. And then go inside the tab right there. Try and pry a little bit more, but it's not going to be nice. There, we still holding it. There we go. That's upside down. But you don't have to worry about any wires being attached because you already unplugged it. That was the first thing we did. That one plug is the only thing that connects these two halves together. So there we go. And there you go. Now you've officially opened up the headlight. Woo, congratulations. Now comes for the fun part. You get to sit here and pick off all of this old butyl shit. So I found that it's super sticky. It likes to stick to whatever it touches. It sticks to itself, which comes in handy later on because back behind these cracks where the tabs are, you can't really get your fingers in there to grab it and pull it off. But when you get a decent sized chunk of it, you can then kind of shove it in there. It'll stick to itself and you can pull it all out. But for now, just get to the easy parts that you can until you got a decent sized chunk that you can start getting away with doing all that. The tricky part, we'll get there when we get there. Let's just start pulling all this shit off and sit here for an hour. So now you got all the sticky stuff out. You've got this fun little ball. Towards the end there, I started to realize on the back housing, not this one, but in the section that goes along this part right here, there's a halogen bulb that's on the inside, and that produces a lot of heat. So that area right here on the back side, you can kind of see this area right here, the glue is very sticky and did not want to come out and kind of hardened a little bit. But I used this little metal pick. I was able to get in that channel and kind of pick some of it out, pull it out, pick it. So, but now that you've got this part all open, you can do whatever you want on the inside. I'm making this video specifically on how to replace this reflector. I have a replacement one that I worked with on a company called Clears Manufacturing to make this OEM replacement that goes right there. So I'm going to show you how to swap that out right now, but you do have to take everything apart to get to it. So on the back side, the first part that you want to take off, again, you have the Phillips head screwdriver. All of these screws on the inside, they're all the same as the one on the outside. So we're going to just go through. There's, let's see, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 screws. Yep, 11 screws on the inside. You will notice that the ones on the inside are shinier than the ones from the outside because they haven't been in the elements like the other ones have. So when you put the two side by side, they're both identical, but one's cleaner than the other. So you can again toss them all in a bowl. You'll be able to tell the difference between the dirty ones and the clean ones. Alright, that's the last one. So, that's the last screw. You've got all the screws out now. What you can then do, you grab it here, lift that up. There is a wire that attaches these all together. So you just kind of whittle that. You got that part out. Set that off to the side somewhere. This is what lights up the J's. So inside of this board and this board and this board, down there. There is a little LED and that's what lights it up. Okay, let's move these out of the way. All right, the next part that you can take out are these little lenses for the blinker. Again, they just pull right out, nothing fancy to it. We'll put those there. We don't want to scratch those. And then you have the cover of the J itself. So kind of go here at the end where it's hooked in and kind of wiggle it out. You don't want to pull on these because they will break, but it doesn't require much force to pull them out. Then you have the big J one. You can kind of pinch it here at the end and it'll lift right out. So this part, getting the black piece out, is the tricky part. You kind of want to open it like a book. So this end is going to come out like that. This end up here is kind of slotted into there. So kind of like when we open it up, we're going to start at this end. It's going to pop loose. There's a bunch of little tabs right here that kind of guide it into place. I'm going to grab it under there. Try to wiggle it free a little bit. Not much wiggling happened. Let's see. Let's try and lift it. Nope. What are we stuck on? Let's grab one of these little pry tools because it's not being too nice. There is a tab right there, so we don't want to break that, but we do want to lift up, but kind of can't lift up, so. Okay, so you got all of these pieces out. Now, this is where you're gonna run into, this is the trickiest part, is trying to get the black part separated from the lens itself. So, what you gotta do is kind of start on this end. This is gonna be the most easiest end. You kind of see it lifts out. You can wiggle it a little bit, but it is plastic. You don't wanna accidentally scratch the inside of the lens because that will suck to try and get it smooth again. You'll see the imperfection when you're done with it. So, like I said, we got this end a little bit loose, kind of wiggle it back and forth. You will hear some creaking because, you know, it is plastic on plastic. You're gonna try and wiggle this a little bit. Doesn't want to move too much. Nope. What are we stuck on? Let's see. Try to flip it around like that. There we go. So what I did there was I just got my hand under the bottom edge of it, put my thumb right there on that end, and just squeezed, kind of popped it loose. It is really tight in there. Not really meant to be taken apart like this, so now we're kind of stuck on where that screw goes right there, but we do have it out. So let's try and open this up. No. There we go. All right. So you can kind of see where that stud was right there. There's a little lip around the inside. So there's a nice little nub right here where the screw threads into, and that's what we were catching on. So you do want to be mindful of that. I wouldn't be too concerned if it breaks, but if it does, that will suck. But don't need this anymore. If you were having trouble getting to the inside, getting all this out, now's your chance to get in there and get really good. All right, let's move this out of the way. And we'll take the reflector out. So try not to touch the black part, because if you own a Corolla, you know what the inside, the interior's got that piano black interior. You touch this, it scratches. So try to touch it as little as possible. Even wear gloves if you want, but we're gonna flip it over. You can see on the back side, there's a little tab right there. There's one there, one there. All of those do is just hold it in. So you wanna start with this end first, because this one down here is pretty big. But we're gonna start with that one. So we're gonna start with that one. We're just gonna push it over. And right here, this is where the bulb from the reflector goes. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure right there with my finger. Push that out, and you hear it click. On the back side, there's a little gap right here now, which is good, but it's still not completely out. There's one more, it's gonna hold it in. So again, I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure around that hole with my finger. And then we're gonna go flip this right here. Nope. There we go. Oh, didn't get it. Oops. There we go. So now this is loose. So now over here, this side is loose. Let's take our little plastic pry tool so we don't scratch it. There you go, pops right out. There's a little hook at the bottom end of it. So when you take it out, make sure you kind of lift up slowly. If you feel resistance, just be careful. So there is a little hook on the end of it, and that's what's pulling it out. So now, you just repeat the same steps backwards. You put that in there, right? Put that in there, that in there. Hear it click in. There you go. Now you're ready just to start reassembling and put everything back the way it was. So now that you've got everything all apart, you're ready to start reassembly. You did what you needed to do. Give it a quick, very gentle wipe down with a microfiber. Again, it's that piano black, same stuff as the interior, so even microfibers have scratched my interior parts, so be careful with it. We're gonna take the, so we gotta put the clear lens back together. Put this down on the table. We're gonna kind of assemble it the same way we did taking it apart. You gotta slide that top end right here. You gotta slide that into place. There you go. And then again, I'm running into the problem with that little stud right here in that bottom corner. Doesn't want to go in gently, so we're going to try and just push our thumbs like that. That top one just went in. There you go. There you go. Kind of popped into place there. There are little guide pins along this top edge. So you can see all those little guide pins right there. That one's in the little slot. That one's in its little slot. Everything's where it's supposed to be. You can double check from the outside. Looks good. Yep, everything looks good on the outside. Now you're gonna start doing your reassembly, putting this stuff back in. All right, so now for the fun part. We are going to be sealing these. You can try and reuse the original stuff, like I said earlier, but I don't recommend it. Clean it out. We're going to be using this advanced silicone. You can use any type of indoor, outdoor silicone. You don't want to get an adhesive because then they're going to be stuck together, and if you do have to take them apart for some reason in the future, it's going to be stuck to get them apart. So just use a silicone. This one's a 30-minute set time, so you gotta act kind of quick. We're gonna use a caulking gun. We're just gonna go along, fill up that edge. You don't wanna go super crazy with it because if you have overflow, then you're gonna be able to see it. You might see it on the inside, you're gonna see it on the outside. So don't go too heavy with it. I believe one should be enough. If not, I bought two, but I'll let you guys know when I do this one right now. Right, actually, I need something to cut the tip. Alrighty, so I cut the tip off. Gonna load it up in here. Be prepared with paper towels, you might make a mess. I feel like I cut that way too big, but oh well. Actually, I'm gonna set the paper towel roll under here like that, so that it's a little more flat. But as you go along, you're just gonna fill up that edge. I feel like I cut this way too big. I regret that now. Let's do this. Before we get started, I'm going to take this off, just so I can wipe it off when I'm done. Alright. Now let's be mindful of that wire that we initially unplugged. Where's that? There it is on the back side. So on the back side, just make sure that you have it sticking out the back so you don't accidentally pinch it. See it right there? Just have it pulled out the back side so you don't accidentally pinch it or get it put in the wrong spot. A little bit of overflow. That's not too worried. So we're just gonna set this on there gently for the first little bit. Get this all lined up. You can hear all the tabs are clicking. Just for the initial setup, I'm just gonna let the tabs just hold pressure, and then after about 5-10 minutes it's going to harden up, and then I'm going to go back around with the and tighten up all the screws. But that's pretty much it. The last step is to plug this back in. So you just clip that, you hear a little click, put that back in, grab the little cap, put it on there, twist, now you're good to go. You've now opened and modified your headlights, doing whatever it is you were doing.